Cheers. Welcome to Culture Night,
where each week we drink fancy wine and watch movies that are in some way culturally significant. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sarah, and we are back for Season 7, Episode 1, kicking off a new season. Finally, we are starting our World War II season, so taking a real sharp pivot. We really just hard turn season to season.
Yeah.
So from space into the World War II movies. We've seen a couple war movies lately, and we've had a list of them for a while, and we're excited to jump into this long season.
I think we originally were kind of targeting just war in general, but I think we've narrowed it down to World War II specifically.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of a little afraid. I mean, a lot of the movies last season were kind of long. I think a lot of these are going to be pretty long. They're all going to be pretty heavy.
Yeah, when I just said long season, I meant long in terms of every movie. I started making outlines for this whole season, and it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, 3 hours and 10 minutes, and I was like, we're never going to finish this.
So we're going to be doing a lot of these over 2 nights.
Yes.
But this also, for those of you who caught our season 6 recap, will know that this is going to be a different format for this season than
just a little
our previous seasons. Still all the same segments, but we're going to kind of break the episodes up a little bit so that they are more self-contained to a particular movie, as opposed to kind of giving the subtitle segment at the beginning of the following episode, just for continuity or less continuity, I guess, almost, yeah. But easier for viewing particular episodes that you're interested in. I guess with that, should we kick off into what are we drinking this week?
Yes, this week we are drinking the 2021 Ducey Vineyard Zinfandel from Tobin James. Love a good Zin. They're known for their Zinfandels. Any good?
Just talks about the vineyard on the back of this bottle. It says that there's dry farming techniques, so the vines have to dig deep roots into the earth to find water to survive, and helps create intense jammy fruit that signifies Ducey fruit.
Not to be confused with juicy fruit.
I was like, is that a play on juicy fruit there?
It's very pungent on the nose in a good way.
Dark and jammy.
I was going to say some cherry.
It smells like a Fig Newton.
Yeah. I don't know. I also feel like I'm kind of rusty from my tasting notes, that I'm forgetting all the typical words we use.
Yeah, we need that chart like we have for our bourbon tasting of some keywords.
Yes. Almost maybe some tobacco or sandalwood.
Yeah, very jammy.
Ooh. Jammy 100%. Very sweet, but I mean, not sugary sweet, but just has that sweet flavor to it. Maybe even grape jelly.
A little spicy.
A little bit spicy on the end. That's very good.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how this develops between now and...
Yeah, definitely it's the smell of a Fig Newton, taste of a really jammy grape jelly, but pretty good.
Yeah, that was
I think
very
I'd probably
good.
Enjoy this one a bit more in the wintertime. Right now it's still late summer, so
yes.
We'll see how this goes, and we'll give you guys our thoughts
after the movie. So now, Season 7, Episode 1, what are we watching tonight?
Tonight we are watching The Dirty Dozen from 1967. It is not rated. I believe that is not that it's X-rated, but more that it just
predates rating systems.
So let's hop into our time machine back to 1967, where the top 3 movies released that year were The Graduate. Those of you who have been following a long time will know that is the first movie we covered on our podcast.
Season 1, Episode 1 to Season 7, Episode 1. Who knew?
The Graduate grossed $104 million. Number 2 was The Jungle Book, grossing $98 million. And number 3 was Gone with the Wind, grossing $64 million. Measly $64 million.
Right. It's just wild because to go from season to season, it's the earlier movies are barely 100 million. And then now it's just every movie is bukus of money.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how some of these compare with inflation to today. But The Dirty Dozen was all the way down in number 6, grossing $45.3 million. The top 3 songs released that year in 1967 were To Sir With Love by Lulu, The Letter by the Box Tops, and Ode to Billy Joe by Bobby Gentry. And I can say pretty confidently, I don't know any of those songs.
I know To Sir With Love. That was only because of Glee. So
okay.
My pop culture roots run deep.
Yeah, it is kind of fun when we recognize some of these, or you kind of are able to place it with the time. But with these, you might as well just make up names.
But I have seen all of the top 3 movies. Have you seen Gone with the Wind?
Technically, yes. Do I remember any of it? No, because I was 8.
Should we have put Gone with the Wind? I guess that's more Civil War. I was War. I'll focus on more, but it's a long movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I have seen it
for sure. Have you seen The Dirty Dozen before?
Nope, I have literally never heard of it until you told me we were watching it for this.
I believe that I've seen bits and pieces of it, on flipping through TCM and things like that. don't really know much about it. I think it's like one of like the stereotypical like dad war movies. You know, like people like stereotypically are like, oh yeah, like, you know, older dads love to just sit back and watch World War II movies, and like Dirty Dozen is like one that people always reference there. So that's about all I know. I don't know the tone of it. I don't know what it exactly covers anything, but I'm assuming that it covers about 12 people, give or take.
That's a good guess. Yeah, I have no idea you know what to expect in these movies because they are World War II, and it's not like space where like some of them were sci-fi and some of them were based in reality and like actual events. This is going to be pretty much based on real stuff. I am most excited for the season to watch how the telling of World War II progresses from the 60s to, I don't know when our last movie is from, maybe like 2017, like that. I'm interested to see how that storytelling progresses, but I'm excited to jump in, and I don't even know. I'm just really excited because I just feel like
this one is really close to like, or a lot closer to when World War II ended. So it's like doesn't have the I mean, it's still obviously 2 decades later, but it doesn't have all of the like hindsight that we have now of, you know, reviewing history, putting things together, really figuring out like the narrative of the war. So it'd be interesting to see what they tell in the story.
Yep. So with that, we will jump into Dirty Dozen. Cheers.
Welcome back.
The Dirty Dozen. But before we jump into the movie,
let's jump into the wine scale.
Talk about our wine.
The wine scale is a 0 to 10 scale. However, our scale is heavily weighted because all the wines that we drink on this show are very good wines. So a low score does not necessarily mean that it is not a good wine, because as I said, all of the wines we drink are very good. So that being said, I'm going to rate this wine a 7.1.
I give it a 6.2. For some reason, I thought we were going to be vibing on the same level tonight. It was good. Again, they are all good wines. And even if they weren't like 60%, like over half the time, I'm going to pick it.
Yeah, I liked it. A lot of good flavor to it. It just had all the berry, the dark fruit, all that, like just a really good drinkable wine. But I think what kind of held it back on the score a little bit for me was that I think after like, you know, 1.5 glasses, I'd be kind of like needing something else. It's a lot, very flavorful, very like pungent on the mouthfeel.
Yeah, I especially because we didn't drink 2 back-to-back glasses. Obviously, like we mentioned in the before show, this is at least 2-nighter for us to watch this movie. It was 2.5 hours long, so not the longest we're going to watch this season, but still relatively long. So we had a glass last night and a glass tonight, and I hadn't thought about it like that, but I bet that would change. I mean, I still liked it, but
yeah, very good. But it's not one you're going to be like, oh yeah, we're just going to have like, you know, 4 or 5 glasses of this. Not that people should be 4 or 5 glasses
most of the time,
of nice wine at a time.
Don't do that.
But it was very good. I did like it.
So
now, if you ever see that at the store,
yes,
go ahead and get it.
If you ever see this beautiful star, sun, whatever it is, for all you people watching on YouTube, buy it. Like,
surprisingly, not sponsored.
Yes.
But Tobin James, the Ducey Vineyards Zinfandel.
Especially to our vast amount of California listeners, you should be able to get it in Costco. Buy it. So good.
All right. So after the wine rating out of 10, what would you rate this movie out of 10?
I'm going to give it 6.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I really liked it.
I really liked it too. I did. I think it was a little slow. Like the end, great, fabulous, super interesting. It was a long lead up into it. And I think that could have been condensed by probably about 30 minutes to make it a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Just like little bits of it. Like last night, I barely even remember what we watched. Like I feel like tonight's hour and a half that we watched encapsulated enough for me to know what was going on. I will also say from the like mild Wikipedia reading I've done while we're watching this, it isn't based on true events. So that also knocks me back.
Okay, that definitely is going to just detract it in the subtitle segment there.
Yeah. So I didn't know whether to spoil that for you now, or I didn't know if you knew already, but it is kind of like based on some other things from the like little light reading I did last night, but it is not actually something that happened. So that's why I give it a 6.
Okay, on my initial read, because I didn't realize we were looking up things before we got to
I
this.
have to know.
I liked it because I thought it was a really cool story, very enjoyable. I think, like you said, it's slow at points, and I think that they kind of focused a lot on parts that I maybe would have sped up on, and I would have spent more time on parts they kind of breezed past. With like the whole training and preparation for the mission and whatnot. They spent like 90% on like the camp training, whatever, but not even really going too deep into that. Then they got the training exercise, then went straight into the mission, and like it just kind of like went like super slow and then quick fast.
Yep.
At the end there. But I did love like the story. I could find myself rewatching bits and pieces of this. If I happened to like tune in and this, I've been flipping channels and this was on, I probably would have stopped and been like, yeah, I see the appeal. All of the World War II dads out there, I see the appeal of being like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and lock into this for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, and like the characters were very likable. Like they weren't supposed to be, but like you find a way to like them all. And like the war games was super interesting. Like I do feel like it was a very good story. I don't know about World War II movie culture to know how much this was like culturally impacted, which I know we'll get into more in a minute. So like that kind of, but like part of that's like weighs into our scale a little bit too. So,
quotability. I think if I watched it like 1 or 2 more times, I'd probably find a bit more quotes from this.
Yes. It had some funny moments. Like there was definitely the like ribbing banter that you expect between men at war, on the same team, like building that camaraderie. I did enjoy it, but
I think the whole part where they were prepping for the mission too, and they had their like for each number had kind of like some sort of rhyme. I feel like if I watched this enough, I'd be like obnoxiously quoting that.
I kind of love that. I would be the last like 30 to 40 minutes. I'm not sure when the whole like mission or like from the end of War Games into the end of the movie, like however long that was, like that was easily the best part of the movie.
I liked the War Games too.
The War Games was good too. Like from the beginning of War Games to the end of the movie, like I could rewatch that. The beginning I could probably do without because like I know the premise of the story now, but like the very end of the movie was definitely rewatchable for me.
Yeah, it was like almost an hour and a half, most of what we watched tonight. Moving on into the movie description. So I'll go first with my description.
Yeah, you're right.
So 12, a dozen men. Soldiers.
Let's call them a dozen.
Yeah, a dozen men were sentenced to like death or to like a long
hard labor.
The soldiers, and they were chosen for a special mission. And they were given a quick timeline to kind of come together and figure out how to work as a unit and put on this very special mission to take out a whole bunch of, or infiltrate enemy lines and take out a bunch of German generals in World War II. Seems like it was preceding D-Day. Also, these men were apparently very unclean during their training and gained the nickname Dirty Dozen. And a whole bunch of antics and special missions ensued.
So now the description, according to the TV, is 12 American military prisoners in World War II are ordered to infiltrate a well-guarded enemy chateau and kill the Nazi officers vacationing there. Oh, they're vacationing. I don't think I knew that. The soldiers, most of whom are facing death sentences for a variety of violent crimes, agree to the mission and the possible commuting of their sentences. It's pretty good.
It says chateau, and they alluded to the fact that the wait staff were French. I don't think they explicitly called out this was in France, but it makes sense if it was like preceding D-Day there. But.
Yeah, they definitely referenced chateau too at least once in there and here, and the French. You are correct there. That was not really explicitly laid out. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of talking, and we did have to turn on subtitles towards the end just because there's a whole lot going on. It's hard to really understand what everyone's saying, but that makes a bit more sense that it was.
Yeah,
why that was going on, why they weren't like heavily fortified and armed, and then it was more like a vacation spot type thing going on there.
Yeah, everybody was really relaxed, obviously.
Was the movie what you expected?
No, I probably wouldn't have said the crime or like the criminals aspect of it. I mean, World War II.
Yeah, no.
Fighting the Germans or the Japanese or whoever, like that, sure, but I didn't expect.
As we started it, realized I did not give like my prediction for a movie possible plotline. I was expecting it to be more like that these like this unit kind of went, was not captured, but kind of couldn't get back to their unit. They like went on some mission, whatever. They were stuck behind enemy lines or whatever, and that they like couldn't shower or clean, which is why they were called the Dirty Dozen, because they basically spent like a long time trying to get back to where they were. And they kind of like were using a whole bunch of like guerrilla warfare and stuff to get back. I was expecting more of that, and it to be more of like starting with a whole bunch of action and then kind of working their way back to the Allied side.
That would also be very interesting. I'm here for that.
Right. So if they're making up this story, I think I could have given maybe a decent.
You could have given your 2 cents.
So Hollywood, if you want to remake the Dirty Dozen slightly differently, could give you a different plot line.
I'm just saying, 1-800-Hollywood. Call us.
How well did it age?
I mean, there's definitely some like ways that they talk to each other, and like as far as like political correctness and just general kindness that was probably out. But I mean, I don't think any of from like a movie making standpoint, the graphics were all, I mean, everything was probably practical effects. So it all looks great, and there's no weird CGI or anything.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a time of like sign of the times where like the kind of the humor they put in there, and just like a bunch of like, you know, knowing glances and kind of things like that, and kind of some of the jokes that they played off of were less about the 40s and more about the like mid-late 60s when the movie was made.
Yeah.
But nothing was too terribly cringy, other than the fact that like just the sign of the times of how they, you know, acted and treated each other and those kind of things. But I imagine a lot of that goes on in the military today.
Yeah,
well.
I imagine we'll kind of run into a lot of that where like the humor is not in taste anymore. But I think the general movie making, I do think almost like these early ones will be good as far as like effects and stuff. Then we're gonna like hit the 2000s or 90s, and we'll be like, ooh, CGI, we tried real hard and it looks terrible. That it'll be interesting to see how that aspect of this goes, because I feel like this question is very like two ways. Is like, how does the actual filmmaking go? What is the actual story? And like just like the general like politically correctness. So that like there's a lot to unpack in these types of movies.
One thing I think that will be interesting also to follow, I don't know how many of the later movies will run into this, but the way they portrayed night scenes, it's like they didn't have great, you know, cameras with, you know, large apertures and the ability to kind of shoot in a bunch of low light settings where it's like it was nighttime, but you could clearly see everyone, and it was like they had spotlights on them because you needed to see that in order to have the cameras at the time be able to film all this. That was one thing that didn't necessarily age the best, because it was kind of hard to like have the realism of like, but why wouldn't you see them all running through the field if they had spotlights on them?
But as an audience member, I do appreciate being able to see.
For sure. Could it be made today? Yeah,
sure.
I don't see why not.
Did they say the title of the movie in the movie?
They damn sure did, and I was so happy.
I was like, I have to ask this before he says anything, because he was so excited.
Yes, they said it very clearly about halfway through. I don't know if they said, is the movie called The Dirty Dozen? Or is it
I'm pretty sure it's called The Dirty Dozen. I might have typed it in the thing as...
I don't know if they said The Dirty Dozen. I think he said You Dirty Dozen, maybe.
I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. Semantics there, sir.
Well, we're going to give it a close enough. They said it. Always makes me happy. Did the title fit the movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean...
12 dudes. They were kind of dirty, and they were also dirty in their like morals. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can come up with a plethora of...
If they were going today, like movie making, it would have been something more like The Unforgivables or something like that.
Yeah, something a little more dramatic. Yeah. I think this is what it needed to be. We don't need to be cute.
But it sure fits it. Does the rating fit the movie? It was not rated.
There was no rating.
Yeah.
What would you rate it?
By today's standards, probably PG-13.
Yeah.
Like no nudity,
I mean, how many really PG
gore,
how many PG kids like really need to be seeing this in the first place, just in general? But I don't think it was like R or anything. No. I don't know. The hanging scene in the beginning was, I mean, they didn't really show it, but it's still like.
Yeah, I think it's much closer to a PG-13 than an R, though.
Yeah, but
if they remade it,
if the exception of that, which I understand why it was a plot point, I feel like the rest of it PG-13 definitely.
Yeah. Could you make the case that this is a Christmas movie?
No,
didn't really coincide with any sort of...
It really could have had like a Christmas scene to like bring them all together. I could see that, but nope.
But this is a pretty condensed timeline over like 6 weeks of training and whatnot. So no Christmas scenes. Were there any actors that went on to do bigger things?
To be honest, I don't know a lot about like where this was in anybody's timeline, or most of these. And by most, I mean all but one of these characters. I like actors I like didn't know before this, but this is definitely early on in Donald Sutherland's career. So, and he has not changed a bit. His voice, he looks exactly the same, minus the like frosty white hair he had towards the end.
Minus the fact that he's dead now.
I know. Okay. I'm aware he's dead. He died about a year ago. But I mean, his face exact same.
He was a little bit more of a goober.
Yes. But his voice sounded exactly the same.
Yes. But one thing that I do want to say, speaking of him and any sort of remakes, is obviously now it's too late. He's dead. But if they'd made one like 20, 30 years later, I feel like he would have played the Major really well.
Yes.
Because I kept like watching it. It's like almost like he grew up to be the Major.
Oh, definitely. And, but I also, I mean, maybe because he is some ranked officer in World War II. He also gave me a lot of the general vibes from White Christmas, which I just love so much. We should have included that in this season. Oh, maybe we'll see how long we drag this out, and maybe we'll bring it
to Christmas. We might.
We'll bring it in for Christmas.
There was one part right before the mission where it sounded like they were playing the general's song from
Yes. From
Sound of
Thank
Music.
you. Yes. Wait, from White Christmas?
Yeah.
The We'll Follow the Old Man Wherever He Wants to Go. Yes, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, was that like a song of the time and we just didn't know because we weren't around then, but I was definitely convinced.
Maybe, but White Christmas came out before.
Yes, before this. It came out in 54.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 54.
Maybe it was a nod to that. I don't know.
Maybe
it was just kind of a similar tune they used at the time. Next question. What impact do you think this movie had on pop culture?
I mean, I had never heard of it before. Not that I mean, I have read and listened to a lot of World War II books. I'm not as well versed in World War II movies, so I don't know about that. You said you've heard of it and that it seems like something people watched. I don't know. I'm sure all war movies kind of like one built on the other. Like they're retelling the same story in different ways and different like ways of telling it, or like and making these scenes happen. That I'm sure it had some film effect.
This was just one of those like I said, like dad World War II like stereotypical movies watching on TCM or something that I feel much more cultured having seen it now and like really experiencing it, not just kind of catching a little bits of pieces on reruns or something like that. So I do feel cultured after watching it.
I do feel cultured after watching it too.
Yes, that was our last question. So now moving into notes.
Yes, I've got about 4 notes. Can I go first?
Sure.
Because I'm excited about them. Not really. So my first note is really just jumping right into things because they start right with the hanging of that guy. And I was just like, ooh, I wasn't really awake before this, but I am now because I was not prepared for this. That just like right off the bat.
There wasn't like any opening credits for the most part. There was like a little bit like introducing
which is so out of character for that time.
Straight into it, yeah.
That I was just not really prepared for. And then my next note is London with a Heart because, I mean, it wasn't until the very end that I noticed the blimps or whatever they were over it. But I was like, oh, it's Big Ben, and just very nostalgic, having just recently been to London within the last year. So loved that. And again, from my like very brief glance at Wikipedia, this was actually filmed in England. So it was not like, oh, we're in America pretending like it was actually England.
Nice.
My third note doesn't have anything to actually do with the movie, but when I meant to mention this in the before show, when I was making the outline for this, I was searching Dirty Dozen. And that's why I know it's the Dirty Dozen, because when you just search Dirty Dozen,
you get some films.
No, shockingly, no. It's even better than that. It's what is referred to as the 12 fruits and vegetables that have the most pesticide residue left on them, and that you should probably buy organic for these fruits and vegetables, which I've heard of before, whether it's in like my human development major or like I've definitely run into that, or I don't know, maybe like even parenting where it's like baby feeding and they're like, buy organic for your babies to like try to scare you. But I had totally forgotten about it. So I'm searching Dirty Dozen and it's like strawberries, kale. Like
that's what we're going to watch tonight.
What is this about? And I totally forgot to mention that last night, but it did make me laugh when I was doing research. Okay. My next note is that, so the Major in real life at the time of this filming, how old does he look to you?
I did look this up. He looks like he's about 56.
Yeah. 50 to like maybe close to getting 60. He is 43 years old. That man is less than 10 years older than we are right now. And like, I mean, no offense, like you have some graying white hair. You don't look that, like he looks 40 years older than you.
Right. He looks good.
He looks great.
Yeah.
But like he looks great for an old man, but he doesn't look great for a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Like I was mind blown. I was like, wait, he died and he was only 63, but like he died 20 years after this movie came out. Like could that be possible? And I was like, oh my God, he was only 43 when this came out.
I will say it was weird. Like he had this like older like gravitas, the way he kind of like talked, but at the same time he like some things he said, did, and like the way he moved seemed like a man much closer to his like early 40s. Yeah.
Especially like when 50s. He was like in Franco's first scene when they were like all lined up and he's trying to like, or he's like first meeting the Dirty Dozen and Franco tries to jump him and he's like agile and jumps out of the way and like all that kind of stuff. But in the time watching that, I was like, damn, old man's got moves, but apparently nope. Just a 43-year-old man.
Yeah.
Insane. But on the same note, I didn't actually write this down. I found it really interesting. I was kind of looking to see like how old some of the guys in the Dirty Dozen were. And it was impressive just how many of them actually did fight in World War II that were like actually, like he was in World War II. There was Donald Sutherland was too young. There was a handful of them that were on the younger end, but there was probably like 6 or 7 of any of the characters that I like looked into, and I didn't go super deep into it, but like a lot of them actually did fight in that. And I didn't really think about that going into watching this, is like how many of these actors were actually going to be like in any of these movies that we're going to watch. Like the next couple I think are kind of earlier.
Yeah. And I guess some of them probably could have also fought when they were like 18 and only been like 38 in this or less.
So I wasn't really prepared for that, but I'm like, oh man, like I almost feel like that's something that wouldn't happen as much today. Like how many active duty military men are going to be like, yeah, let me like portray this, especially for something that was as just like absolutely devastating as World War II. Like I feel like that'd be some PTSD, some trauma. That'd be pretty tough to have to like go back and relive that. So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. Okay. I've got 2 more notes. My last one is the war games. Like I understood why they did them as like a, let's prepare you for battle and stuff. But it also kind of like from every other World War II book I've read, movie I've seen, it's like, there's this urgency. We need men. We're fighting stuff. There's people in the lines, and just like
running out of ammunition. We need it on the front lines.
And then these dudes are out here in the fields of England playing games. Like if I was on active duty, like on the front lines, I'd be like really mad to know that this was going on. And I do understand this is a training exercise, but it felt kind of like, oh, haha, like capture the flag at camp. But like there's like an actual war going on, and that just kind of felt weird. Yeah. It did end up being a very cool scene. And then my last note is after they win the games in a very cool manner, which like you said, kind of played into how they sneak into the Germans.
I said this while we were watching it, not on the phone.
Yes. It's really hard for us to not talk to each other during these movies, so we do have to kind of make some notes to each other. They were eating their feast, celebrating and going over the like thing. Did you notice that it was set up like the Last Supper?
Yes and no. It did feel very like set up when I watched it. I don't think I necessarily thought Last Supper, but when I watched it, I was like, this is very like almost artsy.
Because at first I was like, why aren't they like sitting across from each other? They did uncover the display, so it turns out they were like facing the display. But I was like, it's very much like Jesus in the middle, the major, and then his 12 disciples, his
dirty dozen.
Yeah, and like as it's unfolding in my brain, I was like, oh my gosh, and like they're all about to go die. Apparently, all but one of them.
And a Judas amongst them,
right?
That went rogue.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm not the most familiar with all of those stories, but I was like, this feels very Last Supper to me. And they have all the big roasts of turkey or whatever it was. And I was just like, I feel like somebody did something on purpose here.
So this might be an Easter movie. We'll see.
Maybe. So I just thought that was really interesting. That was my big, like, wow. I like note that was probably done on purpose.
Could pull the symbology there.
Yeah. Okay. That's the end of my notes. I liked the movie. I did.
Yes. So my first note was like you. I also noticed first the blimps over London, which is a really eerie like sight there. It's like first you're like, oh cool, like London, and then you see that and you're like, oh, very like menacing. I can't imagine like walking out like in London like day to day, just looking up and seeing that would have been very like I just feel the dread thinking of that.
Yeah, and just also as something I think we should mention, like we are quite the world travelers, and we have been to France and Germany and England and Italy in the last a little over a year and a half. So like I feel like these movies are going to hit really different having been in London. And we had quite the World War II experience when we were in Rome this past summer or this past spring. And I feel like we're going to kind of feel some feels with some of these things with just like having like been here.
It's one thing to like read about it and like be like, oh yeah, that was like over there that this happened. But to be like, oh no, we've walked through where this was happening.
We walked on that bridge by Big Ben where the blimps were. Like we walked right there.
We've gone through like the Italian countryside, the French countryside, and been like where this was actually happening. Is it? I do find myself like falling back to the fact that like, oh yeah, that wasn't here or anywhere real where I've been. But then you think back like, oh no, where this is happening like is like exactly where we have been. Those are real places. Real people live there.
Yeah, it definitely, having been to them and like reflecting on that, I feel like that's going to keep coming up as we go through the season for sure.
My next note was, I don't understand military rankings.
Right. I literally had to look up the cast to figure out, because like also I didn't know anybody's name, but I was like, I don't even know what to call the main guy in charge of the Dirty Dozen, because I don't know what he is. I would have said like general or something, but he was not in a major, and I don't know what like how that falls in the thing. But like,
and then there's like first whatever, and then there's like the lieutenant, but then there's a whole bunch of one that like there's like the same name but slightly different, overlapping, and then apparently a branch to branch it changes, and I feel like I'm going to need to get some sort of like cheat sheet to have while we watch the rest of this,
That's
just to really
smart.
understand it. But then I think of people that I guess like in training camp or in military school or at the like academies, you learn like based on the whatever patches they have, like what their rank is, and like that's just so much to learn and keep track of all the time.
Yep. And even just like listening to their like strategy of going in there, and I'm like, I forgot it all already. And just like the thing, like they noticed there was one point where they zoomed in on the stars on the guy's shoulder, and like you brought up like the patches. I don't think my brain could ever commit that to memory.
Yeah.
And like, just like, oh, I have to have this plan going in here, but I would forget what time I was supposed to be, or like how many minutes later, like that stuff doesn't stick with me. And so like, God bless anybody that is able to do that.
If it were up to me though, the patches, cool, whatever. I would have like general so-and-so, lieutenant, and then I also have a number. Be like, okay, this person is a rank 6. This person's a rank 8. Okay, 8 is bigger than 6. This person is the higher ranking person. So I'd have like the name, like what it is, like lieutenant, sergeant, whatever, and a number. So I would know, okay, I don't need to do the math. I can see this number is bigger. Instead of being like, okay, let me go ahead and convert patches to numbers, who outranks who.
Let me look at this pattern of colored blocks on your patches. And yep.
It's just crazy. Like I think nowadays, or even any days, it would have been easier just to have like some sort of natural marking system.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know. A little bit, you know, the military is supposed to be really efficient and straightforward, and crazy. I don't understand it. My next note was the major was 43. We already covered that. I loved the credits not being in the beginning, just kind of launching you into the movie. Because for something like this, it's long and semi-slow. Kind of was nice jumping right into it. But I did actually like how they did the credits, like a little bit in there was kind of cool, showing like the people's names and the way they kind of rolled through it.
But I feel like it didn't actually match up the actors' names to the faces, because it would show, I was like, oh, they're going to like flash them in as they like see them in the line. But then they'd show like 2 or 3 at a time. And then they would stop for a second and they'd zoom out, and then they'd go back, and I was like, but it's not matching up. So that bothered, because at first I was like, oh, smart. But something I do wish so I noticed on the note of credits, at the end credits, after the movie was over, they were flashing all of the guys' faces with their, like AR Pinkley or whatever their initials were, like, and I was like, this I needed at the beginning. I needed just like, and I know they kind of walked through it, but you're like still trying to take in everything that's happening.
You're getting 12 people right off the bat. It needs to be like okay, we'll do this right off the beginning. Here's the names and like the faces, and then 10 minutes in, be like, okay, pause the movie. Here's the names and the faces. 30 minutes in, okay, pause again. Here's names and the faces, because you start learning some of the names, and it's a lot to take in and marry up in the first,
especially because they're like in that first part, they're like naming off all their crimes and their convictions. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Sentences,
and all of their sentences. So you're like trying to process a lot. It's like face, name, what they did, sentence, and it's just like so much that and then when they were given the orders at the end, like 1, blah, 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 2, and they're naming off last names. And I'm like, I don't know. Who's who? Franco is the only one I know, because they said it like 17 times in the first scene. But it was hard to keep up with, especially for Dirty Dozen, 12 of them.
For sure. We already mentioned Donald Sutherland being a baby in this. My next note was, I loved the echo in the cells and like the ambient noise when they were outside. And I don't think that was any sort of artistic decision. It was more like, we've got microphones in a unpadded room that's going to echo there. I feel like nowadays, if they were filming those same scenes of like in the jail cells talking or out in the fields, they would have like muted a lot of the actual natural sounds there to hear the audio a bit better. But it was much more immersive, feeling like you were actually in this cell and hearing things echo, as opposed to being like, oh, we're going to make this feel like you're in a recording booth.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the more movies that we watch, the more I'm like, man, the way they used to do things, like the practical effects, just the natural sounds of what the cell sounds like, but being outside, like all of that stuff just kind of like immerses you in the movie more, and are like really clean cuts that we have now. Yeah. Kind of losing taste for them a little bit.
For sure. Next note was they said the title. Next note was in the scene where the major like climbs up on the tower at the training camp when the colonel is trying to expose them. And he shoots a gun off, and there's there's all the guys standing around with guns. The Dirty Dozen are like attacking, and yet none of the people there like shoot.
Right.
They just stand there. They've got the gun still pointed at them, and they just don't do anything because this guy's got a gun that he shoots. Like, I feel like in that chaos, all the guns would have gone off. Yep. Everyone would have been like, "Oh my God, we're under attack! Like, we got to shoot everyone."
I thought that scene was stupid.
And I'm shocked that no one got shot in that.
Yep. I just didn't like, I mean, like, I kind of understand the whole, like, that whole storyline of, like, he's got this general above him that's, like, got it out for him, colonel, whatever. Like we said, we don't understand military ranks. He's out to get him or whatever. But it just kind of detracted from what they were, like, I want to see their training exercises, like, talking more through the plan. Obviously, like, they don't want to give too much away because they want you to wait till the end to, like, see it all play out. But, like, I think I would have appreciated a lot more of that.
But also, like, this colonel was supposed to not be looking into this and, like, went despite the orders and was investigating this and, like, gets no punishment. It's kind of like, you, the major, messed up because these guys who are criminals that we tasked with this mission are not the most, uniform, well put together unit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Didn't really understand that part. My next note was for the war games. They're using live rounds, like, for a drill. Like, they're shooting these, like, live rounds into a hillside while these guys are coming down.
Right?
Like, would you not want to have some sort of, like, blanks or some sort of, like, I don't know, be shooting paintball type things, like, to not actually be killing your own men and also using your own live ammo? I get you kind of want to be realistic. You want to have the danger. You want to have the exposure to the sounds and the fear of war. Still seems a bit silly.
But, like, when we're already desperate for resources, why are we wasting them on a war game? Like, let's just go after the real thing.
Fire, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. So at first they were up there and I was like, okay, so this is all be blanks and stuff. And all of a sudden it's real fire. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then they kept shooting. That's why I was like, and we're really wasting all of this stuff when we could be actually fighting the war that we're fighting. Not that I really support war.
Can you imagine how, like, pissed you would be if you were, like, the army wife at home and your husband died in
a training exercise? Yeah. Oh.
Right?
Oh, I would be so mad.
Especially one like this where it's not
Uncle Sam would hear from me.
Where it's not like, oh, there was this actual, like, crazy mishap. It's like, oh no, we were just fucking around just trying to simulate this stuff and we decided to use live rounds.
Yeah, no.
Crazy.
No, nope.
Friendly fire. Next note was, personally, I would have used black or camo parachutes if I was trying to, parachute at nighttime.
The same thing. I was like, white seems kind of obvious.
Like, it's sometimes you might want to be seen if you're, like, need some sort of, like, rescue type thing, but it seems kind of crazy. You're like, oh, we're going to sneak into this place and we're going to go ahead and have these bright white parachutes
bunch of white
against the black sky where any sort of light is going to light you up like the 4th of July.
Yep. No.
Absolutely crazy.
I actually thought the same thing, especially when you see them all from the vantage point. You're like, oh, like, there they all go.
Was paratrooping, like, so new that people hadn't thought about that yet, or it was too late? They'd already had, like, all right, we've already got an order for 200,000 white parachutes. Can't reorder those now.
I don't know, but I thought the same thing. But also, you couldn't pay me to jump out of a plane during the daytime, let alone at night. And I think about all those poor people who were drafted, and I just know that, like, if my number got called, I'd be defecting somewhere. I couldn't actually do it. Anxiety, just, like, the way my brain functions, I couldn't remember anything. Like, I just, it's not for me. Couldn't do it.
It's like, oh yeah, what we're going to do is, by the way, you're forced into this and we're going to make you jump out of a plane at nighttime while people are shooting at you. Here you go.
Yeah. You got it. Save America.
And jump.
No.
Crazy.
Absolutely not.
My last note was, I wish I'd written down all the steps when they had the rhyme, whatever, for the mission, and they were running through it. But I think now, if this were remade today, I imagine it's similar to, like, a Tarantino movie where they have, like, the chapters and they'll show, like, the text on the screen.
Yeah.
Now that they would have been, like, as this mission was playing out, they would have been like, step 1, they would have had, like, the rhyme, step 2, and they would have had until it, like, went off the rails, and they might have had, like, a scratch through it and, like, what it went to, and then kind of like by, like, step 9, like, a bunch of question marks because the plan went to hell. I feel like it's like a movie trope for it to be like when they show or a plan before it happens, it never works. If they
100%.
Don't show the plan, it always works.
I would say that's probably accurate.
That was, as soon as they were going through it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's really, okay, well, that's not going to work then.
Yeah. I also kind of wish I had, scorecard is not the right word, but, like, a list of all their names. So, like, as they... I mean, as morbid and horrible as this is, but it was just like, there's so many people to keep track of that I'm like, I don't even know how many people are still on our team, and we're, like, fighting hundreds of Germans and French apparently too, that, like, just to kind of, like, have a mental track of it, because it was a lot to keep up with
Yeah.
because things are happening so quickly. And I imagine that they felt even worse in the moment in those kinds of situations. But
it was hard because it was also like a dozen, but then there was the major who I don't think was counted in that, and also the sergeant who I don't think was counted in that.
Yeah, it was not.
Figure out like we were trying to do the math as it happened, and it was hard to be like, okay, I think we've lost 3, but we had 2 more than we thought. So
and then it was like, is he injured or is he good? Like, oh, he's hit. Nope, just kidding, he's okay. And then he was hit too, but they're all like, and then there was the 4 of them in the car. And it was like, oh, like there's 4 of them. They're like, they'll probably pick up those other guys. And then they exploded in the boat. But it was like, wait, those 3 are shot to some extent. Like it was a lot to keep up with.
I don't have these as notes, but 2 things that I was thinking while I was watching it was the random Germans that would pop out of the castle like 5 minutes after everyone else had, like, what were they doing? Were they just sitting there waiting? Like the sniper that kind of came out and the other guy that started shooting like from the chateau. Were they just sitting there being like, oh man, this crazy gunshots. I'm going to go ahead and get dressed, take my shower, going to go find a gun, going to go find a window, and now I'll shoot. Just kind of seemed
I don't know if it was like
well spaced out.
Let's just observe and see, like try to figure out how many of them there are and like kind of get a game plan before we just like.
Well, I got that, but they shot every time. It was like they shot one of the Dirty Dozen, and then boom, all of a sudden like 50 bullets rain down on them, and like if you were gonna do that and take your time, you'd have been like, okay, I'm gonna shoot, and then I'm gonna run down the hall to another window and stake out. And the one guy at the end who popped up and like shot them as they were driving away, and he's got a big grin on his face. I would not be grinning if I'd been shot. Almost everyone I was around is dead now, and these 4 guys, I might have gotten one of them as he drove away. Maybe be smiling.
Can I also ask, and this might be kind of a silly question. So they threw the grenades down the air vents, and they're all trying to reach for them. Are they trying to like keep the pins in them? Like I think
they're probably trying to get the grenades out so they couldn't go off.
Okay, that's what I mean. Because I was like all of a sudden you see the image of them in the bunker, and they're all just like gathered around these vents that they clearly can't get them out of. But I was like, I don't really know what the end game is here. Like they're not going to come out.
Yeah, you want to get the grenades away so that if something come down, it didn't blow up all of them. Like go shove those in a corner somewhere or somewhere away from everyone. So if they do go off somehow, it's not around all of us. They were trying to throw them all down there and then light them on fire so they would all go off
at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. Which they did. Also, Jefferson, he quickly became one of my favorites.
He was running so fast and they just mowed him down.
Yeah, it was that last one. He couldn't get it in there.
Bummer.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like I'm going to be chewing on this one for a couple days. At the end, like again, I was excited all day to watch it, but like last night's was like not the most exciting, but tonight's was like, man, that was really, it was way, it like definitely the
I thought there'd be a
trajectory
lot
was
more,
upward.
like I said, of like the action of the actual in the front lines in the war. That as I was watching this tonight, the first half hour still, it was like, you know, at the camp, war games, that is like, are they gonna have time in the movie to have this actual like them fight? That I'm glad they did have a good solid action sequence there.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for this season too, because like this one was obviously like not all front lines. It was a very like secret operative mission, which we have come to find is not the most factual, but like whatever, we'll get into that in our slept on it. But I think it's gonna be interesting to see where we have how many different movies, like what all scope of World War II are we going to cover? And like, I've listened to dozens and dirty dozens and dozens and dozens of World War II books, and every single one is different. And I feel like there's just still so many stories to tell from that time. And it's just unfortunate that so many of those people are no longer here to tell their stories. And it's just something where like, we will never be able to truly imagine that, because that was just absolutely insane. So I'm excited to hear some more of these stories, and hopefully some more of them will be based in more facts.
Yeah.
But we are excited to keep watching. So thank you so much for watching.
And we will see you in our Saldana segment.
Yes.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back.
We
have slept on
it.
A couple times.
Maybe 7 times. No, not 7 times. We're not a full week yet.
Yeah. A couple times. So
as we said, we are going to jump into our Slept On It segment, where we go back and revisit the movie that we watched this week. And after sleeping on it for a couple days, does your rating change after sleeping on it? You rated The Dirty Dozen 8.5 and I rated it 6.
I think it does a little bit. I think finding out more that like it wasn't really based on true events. There was like some stretch where you can say that it's based on some things, but at the same time, it also influenced a lot of things like Inglourious Bastards and a lot of other war movies, and kind of how they put them together and just kind of the wacky stories they threw together. I will drop it probably to like a 7.9.
Okay, not as much as I thought you were going to drop it.
Yeah. I mean, I still, like I said, it was enjoyable. It was a fun movie to watch. The cultural significance is still there. Yeah. Overall, I think, 7.9.
Okay. I rated it a 6 last week, and I am going to bring it up to a 7.2.
Ooh, it's a pretty big jump.
It is, because first of all, just the number of people that I mentioned that we were watching this. Dirty Dozen, I love that movie. Oh, that's a great movie. That, like, I mean, I had never heard it before. Obviously, that doesn't mean a lot, but the number of people that did mention it. And also, it was just a really good movie. And I think I was just kind of so in the moment of, it's not based in fact, where I rated it a 6, but I did really enjoy the movie. So I'm going to bump it up a significant amount. And I mean, it's definitely one of the ones that I've enjoyed this more than probably most of the movies that we've watched. And this, not that we watch bad movies, but
yeah, overall, just kind of, it moved forward at a pretty decent pace. There were some funny characters in there, a fairly unique story, at least at the time. Just all kind of came together way better. Once it started going, it came together way better than I thought it would, and was just a really enjoyable movie to watch.
Yes, and I would definitely watch it again. Too.
Yeah, and like I said, like flipping through, if it was on, happened to be on, I'd probably watch most of it, or if not big chunks of it. Yeah,
definitely. Definitely looking forward to rewatching the end at some point in the coming future times. So anyways, with that, now let's jump into some Fact Snacks, where I do a little bit of behind the scenes research about our movies and share some fun facts with everybody. So my first fact snack, well, we wanted to call it a crossover between Culture Night Pod episodes, but it turns out that we watched Sleepless in Seattle. It was like the second movie or two movies before we actually started the podcast. When back in 2023, we decided we were going to watch one movie every week, drink some wine.
We called it Culture Night, or I guess it's what became Culture Night, but before we started actually podcasting about it.
We watched 2 weeks before we watched The Graduate in season 1, episode 1. We watched Sleepless in Seattle, and in that movie, they mention The Dirty Dozen, and there's this whole scene about it that is very entertaining. So, although I kind
of want to give it a ding, but
we personally give it a little bit of a ding because it is in this whole journey of watching movies that are culturally significant, but that doesn't fully count. We will eventually watch Sleepless in Seattle for the pod. Maybe we should just do a whole season of these are the first 6 episode movies we watched before we started the pod.
That way everyone's kind of on the same page as us.
So anyways, that's just a little fun fact. So some behind the scenes facts of the actual filming of the movie is, so the chateau that they filmed at was fake and built for the movie, but it was also apparently built too well. And the special effects team would have needed 70 pounds of dynamite just to get like the shot that they needed for a certain thing.
Oh, wow.
So they ended up having to like reconstruct one whole side using cork and plastic so that they could get the shot that they needed.
Like blow it up?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, some good engineers in there. My next fact snack is that John Wayne was the first choice for Major John Reisman, which I think it's a funny coincidence because going into this, I was like, oh, I wonder if John Wayne's going to be in any of these movies, because I don't know a whole lot actually about John Wayne, but I know that my sweet grandmother loved John Wayne and she loved to watch his movies. And I know that they are like older, obviously, movies, but I didn't know like specifically what genre and stuff that he is. I associated him with like Westerns.
I was going to think of it as more Westerns, and I also like expected him or picture him being say older than this young group at least.
He looks pretty old in this picture.
Yeah, I guess would he have been? You said for what role?
The major in charge of the group.
Yeah, I guess that would have fit then if I expected him to be older.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought that was funny because going into this, I was like, oh, I wonder if John Wayne's going to be in this or in the next one, and apparently he was considered for it.
I thought the actor that played the major though was a really good fit. He was like a little bit kind of
Marvin, I think.
Yeah, he was just like a little bit kind of like of a troublemaker, and just the way he played that really well.
I'm still not over the fact that he is so young. I was easily expecting like 60. Anyways, my next fact snack is that Jim Brown, who played Jefferson, he was in the NFL at the time playing for the Cleveland Browns, and he got the part in the movie, but the filming and training camp for the Browns was going to overlap, and they were going to fine him for each week that he missed because he was going to be in the movie. And he just said, screw it. And he quit and retired from the NFL and joined and decided to become an actor.
Wow. I imagine he would not have made that decision if NFL salaries were what they are now. But I think it was a much different time then. Although I don't know how much he would have made from the movie, especially I think the budget I saw was like $5 million or something. Mm-hmm. So probably not a ton of money to be made, at least from that initial payment, unless they somehow got any sort of residuals. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. There were a lot of behind the scenes facts about this movie. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be hard for me to pick them down, but I am going to share a couple more. So they were filming in England for this movie. I think I might have mentioned that while we were in our after show watching the movie, and they had such terrible weather while they were filming. It cost them going $1 million over budget because they had to come back and reshoot because the rain was so hard. But now that I read that, I like watching it, you could see in some scenes, like it was really hard to tell, but it was raining in a lot of those scenes that I can only imagine what it went from there if it was worse than that.
Especially when they got out and they were starting to build their training, whatever campground thing.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if this is like $1 million in 2025, $1 million, or like $1967.
I assumed $67.
Yeah. So like,
set everything back.
So much money now. Something else that I found really interesting was that we talked about the opening credits, how we liked how they were placed shortly into the movie. And that was intentional because at the time, credits were at the very first thing in the movies in the 60s. And the director decided that he wanted to start the film off with some action. So he put all of the action sequences in first. And then once we got a little bit into the story, he waited 12 minutes to get them into the story, which I was like, oh man, we even talked about that. I'm glad we noticed that.
Yeah, I wonder how many people missed that the first time because they were too busy getting popcorn, waiting for the movie to actually start.
Mm-hmm. And I just feel like the fact that we noted that was something we noticed, and it's something that was made note of in behind the scenes facts, is why we started, part of the reason why we started this podcast of wow, when you watch a lot of movies from different eras and different genres, you start to pick up on things just culturally from how movies were made into today. And so that was that one where I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'll do two more. There are so many. It's really hard to pick. So Lee Marvin, who plays the general, he didn't think that it depicted war very well. He, having been actually fought in World War II, he said that he quoted as saying it was just a dummy moneymaker movie. Mm-hmm. So I was shocked to see that he wasn't more into it, but he also apparently based his part off of one of his friends who was also fought with him in the war and took a lot of his personality traits of being really gruff, which I thought was really interesting. And then lastly, like I just said, he fought in World War II. And let me see, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 7, 8 of them, 8 of the main cast fought in either the Navy, the Merchant Marines, the regular Marines, the Army Armed Forces, or the United States Army. So I kind of mentioned it last week, but there was a big chunk of them that fought in World War II. And I really would love to hear what that was like to go from actually fighting in this really devastating war to oh, let's redo it for fun. Mm-hmm. Crazy. Yeah. All right. So there is lots to be read about this movie online. If you are curious at all, I highly recommend it. Like I said, only scratched the surface, but there is so much information out there and it's just so interesting. And I'm looking forward to diving more into these war movies. I got way more excited about the first movie than I was ready for. So ready for the rest of season 7. Yep. So with that, we will wrap up our first episode of our World War II season. If you are enjoying this podcast, if you would rate and review it wherever you are listening, and if you are watching on YouTube, if you would subscribe to our channel so that you will get notified when we post new videos, and give this video a like so that more people can see it and find our awesome podcast. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, we have a account at Culture Night Pod. Or if you have any questions, thoughts, other ththings you want to share with us, email us at culturenightpod@gmail.com, and we will catch you next week.
Cheers.